On tonight's episode, Terror of the Autons, a top-tier Pertwee tale. This story marks the first appearance of the Doctor's equal yet opposite adversary, the Master. Barry Letts and Terrence Dicks came up with this villain to rival the Doctor's ingenuity and intelligence. Roger Delgado portrays the Master in this serial, and he really lives up to that concept.
Now listen, mister, get off my pitch while you're still safe.
You insolent primitive.
Oh, so you want it the hard way, do you? Right.
This story also marks the first appearance of Jo Grant's character. A contemporary audience might see her as representing a negative female stereotype. She's needy, she's naive, she's dependent, she's ditzy. But, I mean, this story's over 50 years old. It was a completely different time socially in the 60s. And her character has a certain level of charm.
Oh, no.
It's alright, I've dealt with it.
Dealt with it? You've ruined it.
But your match was on fire.
3 months delicate work, and now look at it, your ham-fisted bun vendor.
Ham-fisted bun vendor? What does the Doctor have against bun vendors? What an elitist asshole. Katie Manning is obscured by a prop in this shot, and you can see the cameraman trying to pan down to get her in frame properly twice. It's a good example of the breakneck speed at which the show was shot at. Did you get the shot? Oh yeah, good enough. We don't have time to reshoot it, so let's move on. Don't worry, the actress was obscured half the time. We got it, it's in the can. Let's move on.
Look, Miss Grant, I've got a great deal of work to do. You must excuse me.
The Brigadier wanted me to show you this report. Something was stolen from the National Space Museum. It was on loan from this HQ.
Listen to the synth score in this scene, it's amazing. Roger Delgado seems to have a face made to play evil. His scowl and his expressions and his body language just scream evil. He has a certain suave sophistication though that shines through as well, and I think that Delgado is definitely the best actor to have portrayed the Master in all of Who history so far.
Oh, hello.
This weirdo in a bowler hat just appears out of nowhere in the middle of the sky using a bad green screen effect. He makes the sound that the TARDIS does when it materializes, but he's clearly not a TARDIS, so I don't know why he makes this sound.
Oh dear. Don't go away, Doctor!
What?
May I say that I think you look quite ridiculous in those clothes?
That's a lot coming from you, Mr. Pertwee. So this weirdo in a bowler hat was a Time Lord, warning the Doctor of the Master's resurgence. Resurgence? Warning the Doctor that the Master is back in business. He just makes the TARDIS dematerializing sound again and then pops and disappears. It's very obscure. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Wait.
Oh. Good luck.
So the Master has set a bomb to kill the Doctor, and I love how Pertwee disengages it. He tries to deactivate it by reaching for the string and doing something more sophisticated. Then he's just like, fuck it, I'll just swing the door open and I'll jump and I'll catch it before it hits the ground and explodes, and hopefully I'll make it, even though I'm a 70-year-old man, or a 270-year-old man.
Gooch must have left in quite a hurry.
Gooch. That's an unfortunate name. So the Master used to get rid of his adversaries in creative and obscure ways. For example, he shrinks Gooch and traps him in his lunchbox. This is an amazing character trait, and I don't know why they cut it from the modern series. It'd be great to see the Master getting rid of people in interesting and odd ways.
It's Gooch.
So the Nestings are the villain in this episode. They're an alien consciousness which imprints itself into plastic and then is able to animate it. Robert Holmes wrote this episode and Spearhead in Space, which is the first appearance of the Nestings, also known as the Autons. He had a great way of making everyday objects, plastic, seem horrific and scary. It's also interesting to know that the perception around plastic was different in the 60s and 70s than it is now. We don't think about plastic, it's just there, it's part of everyday life. But when plastic first came in after World War II in the 50s, it was new and it was foreign and it was odd and synthetic and not natural. So it makes more sense to turn plastic into the villain in the year that this came out than now. I mean, now we don't give a fuck about plastic. But back then it was something different, something cold and synthetic and unnatural.
No! Don't be frightened, Pharaoh. The Autons are my servants.
The Master continues to keep the Doctor on his toes by mailing a bomb to Unit HQ. He's also hypnotized Jo by this point, and she, in a daze, opens this bomb.
Stop her, that's a bomb!
The Doctor quickly jumps into action and throws the bomb out a nearby window, but all I could imagine during this scene was it exploding and killing innocent bystanders standing near the front door to Unit HQ. He just throws it out the window with only the regard of the people in the room. He doesn't think that there could be like an excursion of school children to Unit HQ that have just arrived at their front entrance. I mean, it's logical, but it's funny to imagine the bomb just murdering innocent civilians and the Doctor being like, oh fuck, at least we're alright, eh, Benton?
There's going to be some complaints about that, you know, Doctor.
My dear Sergeant, if that box hadn't been tied, you wouldn't be here to receive any complaints.
We then get the setup for what is quite possibly the greatest death in all of classic Who history. The creepiness of the chair and the tense atmosphere is set up with this amazing score and the victim's observation that this chair is cold and clammy to the touch.
It's got a cool, clammy feel to it. Now, plastic should be warm and dry to the touch.
Sit down.
Then a sequence which should be horrific is executed in an incredibly humorous manner.
It's moving.
No, I will not tolerate his presence.
Why did he not just get up and run away from the slowly deflating chair? He just sat there and let it suffocate him, slowly. Guess he was stuck to it, maybe? I feel like if it wasn't filmed in just a stagnant mid-shot, it could have carried more tension. It had a cutaway to the other characters reacting, had a tense, shaky cam technique. Obviously they had massive studio cameras in the 70s that they couldn't just get in close and do handheld shaky effects. They were limited to the very old technology of the era. I mean, it's still creepy and odd and dark, but also very silly. I love it. It's classic Who at its best. The Master then plants an ugly child's toy in the car of someone opposing his plan. They use a bad green screen effect to realize this, but for the time and the budget, it's actually alright. You gotta give this shit breaks. The score once again sets the tone, and I love the idea of a ugly children's toy murdering someone. It's great. I actually got in a bit of trouble for the toy troll doll sequences. The BBC studio and a lot of mothers that rang in complained that it went a bit too far to use a children's toy to frighten children, but I mean, scaring children's fine. They'll be alright. I'm sure they grew up fine. Oh my god, he's got him by the neck! Jo is incredibly lucky that she knocked out this muscle-bound man with one shot with a cheap breakaway glass candle to the head. I don't think she would have survived the ongoing struggle if he hadn't have been knocked out. Convenient one-shot knockouts in television and film, eh? Where would we be without them? Probably with a better script.
Help! Help!
Terrence Dicks and Barry Letts also got into a little bit of hot water with this sequence. It depicts Jo and the Doctor being picked up by a police officer and then ripping away the police officer's face to reveal that it's actually an Auton. The idea was that, I guess, it diminished trust that the youth had of the police service. But, I mean, the sequence is amazing. It carries tension, suspense, and it's executed perfectly.
Excuse me, officer, could I see your warrant card?
This stunt was achieved by the stuntman jumping off a small trampoline just as the car stopped in front of him. He was just hoping that the stuntman who drove the car was able to stop in time, otherwise he would have been hit by said car. I love how dangerous and how little regard low-budget films and television has for stunt actors. So the Master's grand plan is to use giant-headed Autons to hand out plastic flowers to the public that will then asphyxiate them once a radio signal is pumped out. Makes sense, I guess. As creepy and odd as this troll doll is, it doesn't carry a whole lot of tension while it's attacking our main characters. The Master being conceived as the Doctor's Moriarty is perfect. It's good to see the Doctor on the back foot. In this episode, he's always falling into the Master's traps, and he's always one step behind the Master's plans.
Who is this? What do you want?
Simply to say goodbye, Doctor.
Oh fuck! The Doctor's being attacked by a telephone cord! Good Doctor Who stories always have their interesting oddities. Moments where you're just like, wow, that's a different concept. But I feel like this story has more. It has the plastic chair that suffocates a guy, it has the children's troll doll which kills people, plastic flowers are one of the main villain, a telephone cord attacks the Doctor. It's things like that that make this a different show from sci-fi playing it serious. Dry British silliness runs through Doctor Who and I love it. It's great.
They're the finest plastic flowers I've ever seen.
Yes, well, that's our object. To show the world the skill of the modern plastics industry.
Suffocating is quite terrifying for a lot of people, and the idea of struggling for breath is a moment of panic. This sequence with Joe actually encapsulates that feeling quite well.
Seems to be looking for someone.
Joe, be careful. Joe!
I think this serial is best watched with a drink in hand and a group of friends around. There are so many strange, odd moments and what the fuck moments, and even moments that are played serious end up silly a lot of the time. Check out the Master karate chopping this guy off a radio tower. It's fucking funny. In the end, the Master's in the radio tower, just about to activate all the flowers that will suffocate thousands. The Doctor bursts in and he's like, hey, I don't think you should do that. And the Master's like, yeah, alright. It's anticlimactic, to say the least.
Well, Doctor, it worked.
Yes, but only just. Another minute and we'd have been too late.
He's gone! After him, quick!
Benton then shoots down the Master in cold blood, killing him. It's then revealed that this is a civilian that the Master had hypnotized. I guess Benton's facing a court-martial now, right?
I told you not to be too sure.
In conclusion, this four-parter is packed with a lot of iconic and odd moments. The fact that it doesn't really take itself seriously at all means that it's kind of timeless. I mean, it's 50 years old, but I think you can still sit down and watch it just because of how odd and silly and confusing and weird it is. It's fun, to say the least, and I think that's what classic Who should be. A sci-fi series that does have good concepts and characters, but also doesn't take itself seriously, which leads to very odd and silly and awesome moments. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch. Thank you for watching. It'd really help out if you like, subscribe, and in the comments, tell me how I got everything wrong and how my facts, Nolan, whatever, man. Just whatever, man.